Hi, my name is Richard Anthony, and my life is garbage. Thank you. But I'm in recovery now. I'm in recovery. And I started out as a campaigner at Long Beach State College back in the 60s, civil rights and, of course, the peace movement. And about 1970, they shot a bunch of students at Kent State, and all the colleges actually came together and shut down every college in the country to work for peace. We were running for office for the AS at that time, trying to throw the frats out and put the peace movement in, and actually that whole configuration we won. And my patronage for organizing that campaign was the recycling center that was started by the ecologists back in the 70s. And the administration was on our back because people were bringing this stuff over and putting them in the bins, but the volunteers weren't cleaning it up. So my job was either clean it up or make it work. That center at Long Beach State still exists today. It raises millions of dollars. It has 50, 60 students working for it. It's a real model of what you can do. This is all part of our growth. For me, it became we put student recycling centers together all over the state and organized a state association. And one of the reasons California is so far ahead in terms of this part of it, the discard management, is that activists in the 70s, baby boomers maybe, not wanting to work for traditional jobs in defense industries, went into the environmental industry. I worked for government for about 20 years. I'm a private consultant now. Just before when I started my own company, I got in touch with Annie Leonard. She's on our board, the Grassroots Recycling Center. Annie Leonard, if you saw the story of Stuff, it's a good film about how we, when we came back from the war, became a consumption society, but we never thought about what happens to the stuff after we don't want it anymore, and then we're filling our landfills and our rivers and the air, we're polluting our land. And she had a conference against incineration in Penang, Malaysia, and I begged her to come, and she said, pay your own way, I'll let you talk about zero waste. I went there, and it was the same week that George decided to bomb Iraq. And so, literally everybody's going, we're in the global south, half people with burqas on. We're going, well, Andy's going, well, what should we do? Should we go home, or why are we here? And we said, we will. Well, really, it was about the community, about our community. And it was really about bad politicians and bad decisions. And it really was about the children. And when we said, well, okay, if we're against incineration, what are we for? Are we for landfilling, for wasting? No, we're for zero waste. And it was the beginning of a movement that has grown tremendously all over the world. 45 countries from Procter & Gamble announced the other day, zero waste from landfill. Well, it's not enough, no burn, no bury. But the last piece, and then I want to give a lot of information, but I have to tell these stories. We worked in Italy, young people with telephones, broadcasting to all of Italy. The third biggest vote getter in the last election is Beppe Grillo. He's a comedian. It's like Bill Maher. But he joined with the youth to say, this is what's wrong with Italy and this is how we can fix it. We had hundreds of people in our conversations. And the result was that we took a group of international experts to Naples, Italy. I said, Rosanna, I don't want to go to Naples. She says, yeah, Naples. It's too crowded. It's run by the mafia, and they haven't collected garbage in 3 years. And it was true. And we showed up. And now the new mayor of Naples is a zero waster. And Rossano Ercolini, who was the organizer of that, just won the Goldman Award, $150,000 as the community leader. So what I was telling you is that, yes, you can do something, and that zero waste is really world peace. It really is. This is the world. It's pretty scary. We've allowed our bad habits to basically toxify our air and our ocean and our land. And really, to me, just a few seconds, it's on the oil. It's all about fossil fuels and oil. The extract of the oil is now used as ethylene to wrap our food in it. It's killing us. The fish in the sea, 1/3 of the fish have plastic in their gullets. They're finding bisphenol A and other kinds of plastics inside fish that we're eating today, food. We're toxifying our own children. It's really about what we're doing and not taking responsibility on the big end on what we do. A proper handling of resources is a cornerstone in any culture, in any society. You look at any religion, you'll talk about stewardship of resources. Something happened in the 50s where we forgot that, when we grew so fast that we let it happen, but we can't. We have to stop it. And this is where we can go. So, I like to talk about zero waste. And basically, these are the principles of zero waste. Basically, it's the law of thermodynamics, is that things exist, okay, right? There is no such thing as a way. Your away is my backyard, friend. And then the key thing, there's no such thing as a free lunch. And what does that mean? It's that if I bury it in the landfill or I stick it in the ocean, stick it in the air, my children got to eat that tomorrow. I've just polluted their whole environment. So the free lunch that we have today is the legacy we leave our grandchildren. And as I get older, I get more concerned about that, because I don't want them to dislike me and say, you know, Grandpa, what about the whales and the polar bear? Why didn't you do something about it? And why didn't we? So it's really about these basic principles and doing things with the highest and best use. So if you got food, you feed yourself, you feed your family, you feed the homeless. Then you feed animals. Then you feed the land. Why would you bury it in the ground and create methane gas? And then finally, if the age of volunteering is over, it's now required. You will separate. You have a blue bin at home, have a green bin, a black bin. Why wouldn't you have that in the office? Why not at the mall? Why not everywhere we go? These are resources for the future. You start to go to different countries. You see in Colombia, I was down for Rio Plus 20, the environmental sustainability meetings. And in Colombia, they're doing this at the high end. They're dressing up the waste pickers with clothing. They're putting bins all over the community, all over the city, all over the town. It's jobs, it's resources, it's sustainability. So where's my theory? Here's the basic theory. The professors know this. It's the Meadows chart, Club of Rome, limits to growth. It turned my life in 1970. They took all the information in a computer at that time, it was probably as big as this stage, and looked at resources. This basically, this is the resource line, and that's population line. That's 1900, 221, this is 2000. Okay, so what I said is the solid line is population, resources, and it's a date thing, so 1900 to 2000. And what happens as population increases, the amount of resources left on the planet decreases. So today, at 2000, should be, in 1970, I thought that was the revolution, the have and the have-nots, actually that dynamic. And what happened was around 2000, the Chinese and the Indians built paper mills and steel mills and start sucking resources from all over the world. Today's tuna can, tomorrow's Toyota. What's happening as we move towards a population of 10 billion, the resources are becoming more and more short. Now I say this not as an argument for population control, because maybe it is, but really it's about burying stuff in the ground and burning it when you're running out of stuff. Is that stupid or what? Really? Okay. So the second one is the savings if you recycle in terms of steel, paper, glass, energy use, air pollution, water pollution, mining waste. All these are reductions. So when Arnold decided to reduce greenhouse gases in California, they looked and said, really? No. You're not giving me the slant iron? No. When he said greenhouse gases in California, they looked at if you recycled everything, what that would mean. If you recycle everything in California, it would be like reducing all the exhaust pipes from all the cars. That's a huge. That's why AB 32 mandates source separation. That's why 341 now is requiring recycling in California. It's about jobs, but it's about air emissions, it's about sustainability. So that's just the simple logic of this. And when you look at recycling, you'll see that these are, in terms of aluminum can, of course, that's the biggest energy savings in terms of BTUs, but carpets, all the way down. These are things that you don't want to bury, you don't want to burn, you want to recycle, you want to use over again, so you can conserve your resources for the future. So essentially, when you talk about zero waste, what we're talking about, and these are the new jobs, these are the movement for you, is prevention up at the front. Prevention. In Italy, we have 90 cities at zero waste. They're recycling 90%. I say, Enzo, what's in the garbage truck? He says half of the garbage trucks are diapers. Diapers, because these were designed for putting in the landfill, for crying out loud. And is that what we want? Is that what our society is all about? Isn't this a time for us to say redesign? It's about redesign. So part of it is clean production, part of it is product redesign, part of it is making the corporations be responsible for what they do and take responsibility for it. And then the recovery side, the recycling, the composting, the reuse. And we say now, I say now, if they can't produce it, if I can't recycle it, if I can't compost it, they can't sell it. Why would I allow them in my community and have to build a landfill for all these things that they're making profits because they're taking the short end? So part of this is community responsibility, absolutely. You have to take your own communities. You have to take your communities. Zero waste plans, we've got Oceanside, we're doing San Diego now, Los Angeles, Santa Monica. Why not Huntington Beach? Why not Orange County? We could do this. San Francisco, we just did Zero Waste Week. Almost every city in that Bay Area is now taking zero waste plans. And our 80% diversions are creating jobs and resources in the community. I just want to say that in the strategy, it's highest and best use. And so as you live your life, listen, it all starts at first you. Okay, so when I teach my classes, I make everybody sort their trash into commodities, the 12 commodities. And we at the 4-week level, everybody gets up and gives testimonials about how wasteful they are. I mean, one guy was, I just bought all these paper plates and paper towels because I thought that was a better way to do it. And I won't do that anymore. People learn. So there's a hierarchy on how you live. And you start at yourself, and then you start at your family. But then once you do it, then you change your world around you. And that's how you organize. That's the campaigner. Talk to your friends. Talk to your friends, talk to your families, figure out where you have to go. Maybe it's just your apartment. You don't have recycling in your apartment. What does that mean? Well, let's get together and get that apartment owner and make him do it. Turns out it's cheaper if he recycles. In terms of looking at our resources, don't ever, when you say waste, I say show me. Waste is a verb. I waste, you waste, he, she. Waste is the space between your ears. These are resources, these are commodities. Everything that we generate in terms of discard is one of these: textiles, polymers, which are plastic, reusables, chemicals, metals, glass, ceramics, which are rocks, paper, wood, soils, petriculables, which are food, and plant debris. And notice I got a line right through the middle. That's organic material. Number one generator of methane in a community is the landfill. Number two is the farms where they're dumping petrochemicals on the farm. If you took the last half away from the landfill, you get rid of the methane, 15 times more deadly than CO2, and you put it back on the farm, you put it in the ground, you're nitrogen in your soil, you're growing your crops. So part of zero waste is basically remanaging our organics in a proper manner. Has to happen, and it will happen. This is going to happen in the next couple of years. And it's going to be local campaigns. It's a matter of local government saying it, and then county government and getting the state to do it as well. Thank you. All right, so I'll keep going. So we look at those 12 categories, and we find out that these are really valuable. These are 90% of what we generate. The other 10% is baby diapers, painted wood, and then what I call legacy stuff that was composite materials that was generated before we told these guys it was a bad thing to do. And when you look at the categories, you can see you can lump them all into the same categories. So your durables and your appliances and your reusables are reusable. And then there's paper and all the categories of paper. And the reason I'm showing this, that in these 12 categories, it's called a 54 sort, but basically it's everything that you generate that's been sorted. We've done this for years, okay? But I wouldn't ask you we could put all those 12 categories in a blue bin. You got 5 of them. In a green bin in San Francisco with the organics and food in it, you've now got 8 of them. And then all your textiles and all your discards got to go to the Salvation Army or Goodwill. And we pretty much have got 80 or 90% if you just dealt with a 3-bin kind of program. And what I wanted to show you that is this was in Delaware, where they generate 1 million tons a year. From that 1 million tons a year, when you use these as commodities, and you get them separated as commodities, it was about 2,000 new jobs and about $47 million. In Los Angeles, it was $180 million. That's just money left on the table going in the landfills in the city that could be recovered by people doing resource recovery work. So let me just show you real quickly. Do I get about 5 or 10 minutes? 10, okay, good. So this is just an example. When I say reuse and repair, these are your thrift stops. In Monterey, it's called Last Chance Mercantile. You drive up the landfill and all your stuff go there. your store chairs and tables. 80% of that stuff that ends up there is being sold out. Urban Ore is this one down here, Dan and Mary Lou. They have 200,000 square feet in Berkeley. They're millionaires. Anything you want in terms of building materials. If you want a good wooden door, you don't have to go to IKEA. You go down to Urban Ore and get a solid wooden door that was made 100 years ago. These are the recycling programs that we have. That's Santa Monica, that's Long Beach. I have to put Long Beach State in there. This is in front of a landfill where you bring your material and you just put it there. It's simple. The people love it. You drop it off and you go. So a lot of people are self-hauls. Most of us are probably live in the city and we have pickups, so we don't worry about that. Key thing is labeling. These are your composting, the organic side. Once you keep it separate, you can either windrow it or you can put it into ag bags, or now they even talk about in-vessel systems that capture the methane as well. This is what's going to happen to your organics for the future, because it's it's going to be soil and it's going to be energy as well. And then there's special discards. It turns out that, bricks and rocks why would you bury those when you can build with them? So if you watch any building site, you'll see a stack of rocks there, because from the old site, they don't take it away, they'll just grind it up and put it back into the infrastructure of the new site, which is the way we want to do things. I want to talk just a tad on the state of the soil. That's the other part of this peace movement, is that we've been polluting. We've been taking stuff out of the soil a little bit, and it's something like the degradation of soil is billions of years. It's caused the falling level of soil carbon. It's reduced microbial activity in the soil needed to bind and release the nutrients. There's 2 billion hectares of soil. 2 billion hectares of soil, more than the area of the United States and Canada, have been degraded in the world today. I'm sorry. Okay, I shouldn't even read it. The bottom line is there's a lot of soil around we've been stripping from the soil and not feeding it back, and it's degraded all over the world. Land as big as the United States and Canada can't grow crops on it. In India, the damage is about over 2.4 billion a year. In Africa, 3/4 of arable land is severely degraded. The annual cost of soil erosion worldwide is over 400 billion. Now, I'm in Sicily with Paulo, where we're trying to kill this incinerator. And Paulo's an agronomist and said, how's the land in Sicily, Paulo? Oh, the land is terrible. It's been farmed for years. And yet you're burying your organics in the ground, or you're going to burn them in an incinerator. Does that make sense? Of course it doesn't. Of course it doesn't. So where are the organics? Well, because of convenience, we're stuffing them in the landfills. And so, like I say, half of what's going to the landfill is an organic material that is a sustainable subsistence for our community. Now, part of our problem was here in Orange County is that we basically drove them out. There were orange groves here. We grow avocados on the side of mountains, oranges on the side of hills, because the land has been taken by the residents and the builders. But we have to think about, as the world becomes more sustainable, we want to be more self-reliant. As the price of oil goes up, you need to have a close-in economy for growing food in your community. So you have to have farmlands. And the farmers have to have the right to grow soil. They have to. In the EU, they're banning landfills. The European Union, we're ratcheting it up now. It's around $400 or $500 a ton for landfill. This is what's charging the Italians to go to zero waste, because the other alternative is building an incinerator, and as farmers, they don't want the dioxin on their crops. Okay. So the key is that if we could do this, if we just do it's just a mental thing. So this is why it's a peace movement thing. I mean, look about it. It's all about your own community. It's all about self-reliance. It's about food. In our culture class, we realized that if we could probably work 6 hours a day and take care of ourselves, and then we could grow our own food and bake bread and play with our children. Wouldn't that be a fine quality of life than having to work 14 hours? So why do we go to war for oil when we could sit here and have a sustainable site? Those of hippies from the 70s, we've been living off the land for years and doing just fine. Thank you very much. They say, how's business, Rick? Well, it's picking up. Thank you very much. So let me just finish, because you want me to, and I will. But I think it's really important. What I tell the kids, we just did a zero waste week in San Francisco. Over 800 people attended 5 days worth of, including a zero waste youth conversion where we had maybe 300 youth from California who want to work on zero waste. And we had the people from Zero Waste Philippines and Zero Waste Brazil, and these are Zero Waste Italy, and they're youth groups, and they're growing. And they say, well, Rick, it's under 35, okay? And I said, that's fine. I think you have to make the change in this world, and you have to be the one to do it. But let me just say one thing in closing. Don't forget about Grandpa. Grandpa was in the streets in the 60s and remembers. Grandpa cares, he has time, and he has some money, and he feels real bad about this. So I think it's about working together as a big family, Grandpa and the kids, and it's all about the children. Thanks.